This video has been a long time coming. What pushed us to make it in the end was this article, which I'm gonna come back to in a minute. First, let's clear out one thing. What is travel like a local, or just like a local concept? I'm sure you are familiar with it. From big brands, YouTube channels and blogs, this approach to tourism has been popular for quite a while now. And the gist of it is this: don't do touristy things because they suck. Instead, do local things because they're always better. It sounds like an excellent advice. Touristy things are often overpriced and unoriginal. But what travel like a local concept disregards from its equation is the locals. This is a legendary pub in Prague called Unoriginal. It has been recommended by many people, but a couple of weeks ago they had a very strange incident that was reported on local news. Long story short, a group of people, some were tourists, some were locals, went there for beer and they were refused to be served by the bartender because of their background. They of course did not feel good about it, so they decided to record the interaction between them and the staff on their phone, which the staff did not like. And because also some regulars joined in, the conflict escalated. Later, the group went and reported it to the police, who were not surprised that it even happened, because apparently it is not an isolated incident at Unoriginal. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you guys know we don't shy away from difficult topics on this channel, so here it is. Despite what many creators will tell you online, not every place where locals go in Prague is meant for tourists. It's not because we're gatekeeping, sometimes we are, but not in this case, but because you will not feel welcomed there. This breaks the logic of travel like a local concept that argues that everything local is automatically better than touristy. I don't know about you, but I would gladly pay more to get a mediocre experience in a restaurant than be verbally or potentially physically abused. There are more things that I'm apprehensive about connected to travel like a local concept, and I will mention them in a minute. We are using this restaurant as an example only because it made it to the news, but there are many more places with a similar reputation. For example, Černého Vola, a legendary pub next to Prague Castle, known for its rough treatment of customers, or Světozor Canteen, which also tends to dismiss foreigners, and rather rudely, dare I add. Obviously, locals who recommend these places to you guys do that because they like them. They actually have good experience there. But you as a traveler might be put in a different situation if you go there. We call this channel Real Prague Guides not only because we studied to be tour guides in Prague, but also because we want to keep it real. And if you want to travel like a local, you should know that locals come in different shapes and sizes. Even in pretty progressive and liberal Prague, you have people who like tourists, who don't care about tourists, who don't like specific tourists, and who hate all of them. One might hope that people who love tourists work in tourism, but that's not always the case from my experience. Plus, if you want to travel like a local, you will not be interested in going to touristy places. You will want to go to authentic places. In that case, you need to get ready that you might stumble upon a guy rough around the edges who will mumble a racial slur casually, or a waiter who will refuse to seat you in a half-empty restaurant. Another reason why I personally take travel like a local concept with a pinch of salt is that sometimes well-intended recommendations of locals can put people in uncomfortable situations or even in danger. For example, Prague Flea Market, located on the outskirts of the city. Sounds like a fun weekend pastime, but you gotta be prepared that it won't look like Portobello Road or small vintage sale in Florence. It will look more like Tortuga. Of course, confidence is key, and if you are not easily intimidated by hordes of men in tracksuits shopping for steel arms and tools, you'll enjoy it. Another local's favorite is a hiking spot, Velká America's Quarry. We have visited it in summer and even planned to make a video about it, but then realized, oh no, we aren't recommending this to anyone, but especially tourists. Jesus Christ. Imagine coming here at night and sleeping. It was so dangerous, and the police reports were a good confirmation we made a right choice not to promote it.
Hey, why did you send me to that quarry? I almost died there.
Because I'm not an expert, I'm just a local. Sorry if you didn't like it.
So why do you make money on tourists?
Because I can. You trust me. It's a logical bias. Google it. Local bias can be defined as the tendency of investors to invest in geographically proximate firm stocks, despite several advantages of diversification. To apply to our case, we tend to trust locals more because we equate their geographical position with their knowledge. Big companies know about it. Take Airbnb and their slogan, "Live like a local." Or Lonely Planet, the old school establishment that now offers travel itineraries constructed by locals. I don't think that any locals who give their recommendations online have bad intentions. It's just being a local doesn't automatically make you an expert.
Hi, can I ask you something?
Bugger off.
No, it's not what you're thinking. I just want to ask locals a few questions about Prague. Are you a local?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so would you maybe know how many people live in the city of Prague?
Too many?
All right, well, maybe you would know the names of the architects of the St. Vitus Cathedral, the first two architects.
Is it the one up there in the castle?
Yeah.
No clue.
All right, so maybe you would know the name of the bridge over there?
That one.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't.
Are you sure you are a local?
Travel like a local concept sounds very down to earth and personal, but unfortunately it has been exploited so many times it became a marketing strategy, not a way of helping locals or the city. Also, some people highlighted the irony of tourists wanting to be like locals, but still remaining tourists. This article, for example, criticizes tourists who seek out the hidden secret spots of locals and says that they're entitled to good experience at venues and attractions that are prepared for and actively welcome them. Under popular videos with recommendations for Prague's hidden gems and local hangout spots, you can often find comments, "Well, now my favorite spot is ruined." Of course, there is a reason why this concept even appeared. Travelers were tired of marching into tourist traps and getting ripped off or spending the whole time surrounded by other tourists. So they started to seek the advice of locals online. But I think there should be a healthy balance between the desires of tourists and locals, because they seem not to match. And those concepts like travel smart or conscious travel are not as catchy. And by the way, who wants to think on their vacation? We take vacations to turn our brains off and not to make decisions all the time. Look, I'm not saying that you shouldn't travel like a local, but if you do, just bear in mind that locals might not like you. It might be tough because you don't speak the language or know the local culture, and you will stand out, and sometimes in a bad way. So if that doesn't bother you, maybe it will be worth it. The reason why we're making this video today is because we have a YouTube channel and we work in tourism in Prague, so we are aware of strategies that other YouTubers and companies use to lure tourists in, and sometimes they're not benefiting the travelers. And yes, we are part of the problem. We are shooting ourselves in the foot by making this video. Okay guys, let us know, what do you think about our extremely unpopular opinion? Is it unpopular, or do you think the same? If you were ever a tourist in Prague, have you ever had any bad experiences with locals or in local places? And if you are a local here, let us know, what are the things that tourists do that you would like them to stop doing? Otherwise, you will lose it one day. Okay, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in our next one. Bye!